Language learning has always been taught as this rigid academic process. But what if the key to mastering a new language isn't about memorizing rules, but about overcoming our deepest fears?
That's such an interesting perspective, especially since research shows that 65% of language learners cite anxiety as their biggest barrier to speaking.
The fascinating thing is how this new approach completely flips traditional language teaching on its head. Instead of starting with grammar rules and vocabulary lists, it focuses on what psychologists call controlled exposure therapy, gradually building confidence through real-world situations.
Well, that reminds me of a study from the Language Learning Institute that found students who practice speaking in real-world contexts retain 40% more vocabulary than those who only study in classrooms.
You know what's really striking about this method? They've identified these 10 core situations where language anxiety peaks, like ordering at cafes or handling workplace conversations, and created what they call confidence modules around them.
The psychological framework behind that is pretty brilliant. How do they actually structure these modules to overcome that initial fear response?
So get this, they use a technique called micro-progressions, starting with simple phrases like, "Hi, how's it going?" and building up to more complex interactions. Studies show this gradual exposure reduces speaking anxiety by about 30% in just the first few sessions.
That systematic approach to building confidence makes so much sense, especially when you consider how our brains process new language patterns.
And here's what's really fascinating. They've incorporated findings from neuroscience showing that physical articulation, actually speaking the words out loud, creates stronger neural pathways than silent study. That's why they include those strategic pause moments for practice.
The integration of those pauses is really clever. It's like creating a safe space for experimentation within the learning process.
Speaking of safety, let's talk about their office module. They've identified that workplace communication causes the highest levels of language anxiety, with 78% of learners reporting significant stress about professional interactions.
Well, that certainly explains why they've put such emphasis on those high-frequency workplace phrases.
Exactly. And what's really clever is how they've woven cultural competency throughout each module. Like that simple tip about making eye contact during greetings, studies show maintaining appropriate eye contact increases perceived confidence by up to 40%.
Those subtle cultural elements really do make the difference between just speaking a language and actually communicating effectively in it.
The emergency module is particularly crucial. Research indicates that stress can reduce second language proficiency by up to 30%. Teaching these vital phrases could literally save lives.
That stress response in emergency situations is exactly why they emphasize repetition and muscle memory in their teaching approach, isn't it?
Precisely. And here's something remarkable. Their data shows that learners who practice these emergency phrases just 5 minutes daily report feeling 50% more confident in crisis situations after just 2 weeks.
Those numbers really demonstrate the power of consistent, focused practice over traditional cramming methods.
You know what else stands out? Their approach to daily routines and small talk. By focusing on these everyday interactions, they're addressing what linguists call the social-emotional barrier, the fear of making personal connections in a new language.
The emphasis on building those personal connections really sets this method apart from traditional language instruction.
And the results speak for themselves. Users of this method report a 60% increase in daily English interactions within just 1 month. It's about creating what they call language confidence momentum.
Those are impressive results. How do they maintain that momentum over time?
Through what they call integrated practice, encouraging learners to incorporate these phrases into their daily routines. The data shows that this approach leads to 85% better retention compared to traditional study methods.
Well, those statistics really highlight why this method is gaining so much traction in the language learning community.
Looking ahead, this could revolutionize how we think about language education. Instead of focusing on perfect grammar, we might see more emphasis on building confidence and practical communication skills, what some researchers are calling the confidence-first approach.
That really could transform how millions of people approach learning new languages.
And that transformation couldn't come at a better time. With global communication becoming increasingly essential, we need methods that actually work in the real world, not just in the classroom.